Television for today, Friday, October 28. We'll get you started with a look at the top stories for today. Meeting on teachers' salary between Minister of Education and BNTU put on pause after disagreement on participants at proposed meeting. Supreme Court rules that the contract signed for management of Imarbe is illegal. Guatemala Congress approves referendum process. IMF directors insist on moves to improve Belize's economic stability, and Toledo's NEMO's Emergency Operations Center and Disaster Relief Warehouse inaugurated. It's all of us or none of us. That is the position that the Belize National Teachers Union has taken regarding a suggestion made by Education Minister Patrick Faber. There is a pending meeting between both parties, and Faber had proposed that only 5 members of the BNTU's Council of Management participate in that meeting. Well, that is not happening because during a meeting today, the BNTU's Council of Management decided that all 25 members must participate in that meeting. That counter-proposal has been refused by Faber, and now there is another impasse between the teachers and the Ministry of Education. BNTU's National President Luke Palacio updated the media.
He still has his position that he wants to meet with only 5 members of the BNTU Council of Management, and our council remains with the position that it has to be with our 25-member Council of Management, and the bottom line remains that we speak for our membership. Our membership have elected those persons you see here to represent them on a Council of Management. All those teachers that will be affected with this decision that the Honorable Minister has taken to dock their salaries because they were able to stand up, they were able to make things happen in Belize that has never been seen before. He has decided he wants to punish them. We are going to stand by the side of our members. We are going to stand by the side of our teachers, and we are saying he cannot, and I will repeat, dictate to us who will represent us at any meeting with him. We have not said to him, you bring yourself and only your CEO or your chief education officer. He is the one who has decided that he wants 5 persons to be there. Yet they continue to give instructions to their district center managers and other persons employed in the ministry to continue to threaten and intimidate our teachers. We have the mandate from our teachers to defend them, and we'll defend them to the fullest.
Why is it so important to have the 25 members of the Council of Management at the meeting as opposed to 5? Because at the end of the day, you guys represent just one body of people, one union.
Unfortunately, my friend, you are sounding just like the minister. You cannot come and dictate to this council who represents them when. And that is our point. That is our position. He has not come across as if though he really wants this matter to be resolved. As a matter of fact, when we wrote to him this morning, we offered for him to come and meet in this conference room because we have enough space, and he has refused. So who is playing hardball?
Today, members of the Council of Management once again clarified that the strike fund is not meant to pay the teachers. Thousands of teachers were on strike for 11 days, and the Ministry of Education has decided to hold its salary contributions from those teachers who participated in the strike. The BNTU is insisting that the decision to pay the teachers or not is in the purview of the managing authorities of each school and not the ministry. The ministry had also suggested that the BNTU use its strike fund to pay the teachers. And Devorah Jurgensen, Nadia Kalis, and Luke Palacio reiterated the union's position on this matter.
All members shall pay into a strike fund of such monthly amount as may be determined by the convention, and convention is the highest authority. This fund shall be used for the needs and concerns of members and the union during strike action authorized by the union. It shall be used only for the expenses incurred from, because of, or during such strike, and authorized by the council.
The way we view this argument over what the strike fund should be spent on and not spent on, we see it clearly as another form of trying to hold a rope around our membership's neck, making it look as if though we're not concerned about them. That is one. making it look like, oh, I have the money, I control. If we never think we'll go up and strike again, this away, make a show no what happen, we will do to and pay no. That's what we see. And we want our membership to understand clearly that is not the way for anybody to treat you. We're not supposed to be begging for money.
That's right.
We're not supposed to be begging for money. What happened when we are out late at night trying to solicit funds for our school for events? Because we sponsor a lot of those things at those schools. What happened to that? Nobody pays us for that. Some of us were on strike. We were not in the classroom, but we were working with students outside of those walls. We were still working with students, but they don't want to hear about that. The point is, we took a stand for Belize, and we taught our students a lesson.
His position has not changed either. He's insisting that he wants to meet with 5 people and that it has to do with using the strike fund for us to pay for those teachers who are on strike. And we are saying, if that is your hard line, then we have to maintain a hard line as well. So it's not that we are trying to be intransigent. He has a hard line. He wants to prove something. Then we are saying, listen, you cannot be saying one thing out there and writing something else.
The BNTU has planned an event for tomorrow. That event was being called a thank you rally, and teachers were expected to express their appreciation for all those who supported and kept on supporting them and their stance against corruption. That thank you rally is now being called a demonstration, and teachers are now expected to show their discontent with Education Minister Patrick Faber. President Luke Palacio told the media that the tone has been set and teachers are expected to be out in the masses.
It sets a very good tone, in fact. I think that even those who are thinking of not coming tomorrow will now decide that they will come because they're seeing that their union is taking a stance based on our constitution. The union is standing up for our teachers. The union is not backing down. And that, I think, is a very important message. We have said it before and we're going to say it again. The teachers have indicated they are prepared to make up the time. What is Minister Faber's problem? We've again said that decision for the salaries to be withheld lies with the managers of the school. The managers of the schools are prepared to work with their teachers on how to make up the time. We are not saying that we are going to make up the time arbitrarily. We have agreed that if our managements were allowed to do what they are supposed to do as it relates to the education rules, that they would have ensured that the making up of the time would be in a structured manner. I don't know what is so difficult for the minister to understand about that proposal.
The rally begins at 9 a.m. on Coney Drive in Belize City, and the teachers will make their way to the Memorial Park. On September 29, we brought you the Article 4 consultation report produced by a team from the International Monetary Fund that was in country earlier this year. This week, the executive directors of the IMF met in session and had reviewed the report in full and has insisted that measures are needed to strengthen the economy as Belize continues to face significant vulnerabilities and challenges due to its high public debt, large fiscal and external deficits, and declining international reserves. In that meeting with the executive directors, it was agreed that the adverse weather conditions have also posed difficulties to the country, and with that compounding Belize's challenges, an improvement in growth performance is crucial. But with all this said in the report, just how much credence does the government give to the IMF report? Well, we asked Dr. Carla Barnett, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Finance.
We do give a lot of credence to the IMF report. I wouldn't want to suggest otherwise at all. We might not agree on every little bit, but in general, what the IMF has said is reasonably true. We are going through difficult times. We have a very difficult situation with our productive sector. We've seen where export earnings have decreased for various reasons, and the report will speak to those, does speak to those. We have a fiscal deficit, and it's been made worse because of the arbitration award. So we're seeing these one-off payments that are increasing the fiscal years, the fiscal deficit in the years in which they occur. So we understand that there are difficulties. There is no getting away from there are difficulties. Indeed, I would say that government faced up to the evolving difficulties even before the IMF report came out.
The IMF directors stressed that placing public debt on a downward path is a key priority, and they have welcomed the important steps taken by the authorities to contain public expenditures and increase revenue. They, however, recommend that the GST rate be increased, that the public wage bill be reduced, and there be a reform of the pension plan for civil servants and strengthening public financial management. The 84-page report by the IMF also noted, and we quote, "Growth is expected to average less than 2% in the medium term. The envisaged fiscal adjustment would remain insufficient to significantly reduce the very high public debt. Large external imbalances driven by large current account deficits, repayment of the super bond, and remaining payments for the nationalized telecommunication company would reduce international reserves to uncomfortable levels. The further withdrawal by global banks of correspondent relationships with Belizean banks and low capital buffers in some banks are key threats to financial stability. Insufficient fiscal adjustment and weaknesses in the banking system are significant risks." End of quote. The Article 4 consultations are done annually and includes observations made via assessments as well as proposed solutions that would seek to remedy the challenges. In the 2016 report, it noted that very few of the recommendations of the 2015 Article 4 consultation have so far been implemented, and the rising fiscal and external vulnerabilities in the context of worsening macroeconomic prospects only highlight the urgency of strong action to address them. The International Monetary Fund concluded its Article 4 consultations with Belize on September 21, 2016. It is a report whose executive summary speaks of a weakened fiscal position and the country's public debt going higher. As we mentioned regarding the IMF report for 2016, there are some recommendations that went to the government of Belize that would prove as stepping stones in rectifying the economic challenges. In the section dubbed Rebuilding Investor Confidence with Strong Fiscal Policy Action, the report noted that the government of Belize had acceded to the problems at hand and that the Barrow administration had noted that increasing the fuel tax in late 2015 was the first step toward fiscal consolidation, and that they are considering further enhancing with the collection of revenues, including moving zero-rated items under the GST either to an exempt status, which would prevent refund of GST paid on inputs, or to the standard GST rate of 12.5%. While Dr. Carla Burnett would not commit to any particular action that would be undertaken by the government, she did note that long before the IMF report came out, there were movements being made to tackle the financial issues.
Government had set up an economic policy coordinating team. This team was set up before the IMF report came out. It was set up even before Earl. And I had been asked to chair that team. Cabinet had asked me to chair that team, and I had agreed. And this is a team that comprises CEOs who are CEOs in key economic sectors. So the financial secretary, obviously, economic development, tourism, agriculture, those kinds of sectors. And then we had Earl. And Hurricane Earl exacerbated a situation that was already difficult. And so when I was invited to join the cabinet, that economic team was already in place, and that team continues to be in place and continues to look at the state of play and the policies that need to be done to correct the situation.
The IMF report also noted that the government of Belize is also considering raising the standard GST rate to the regional average of 15%, which would result in about 1.1 percentage points of the GDP. This, however, would be a last resort for the government to do. Dr. Barnett told Love News that there are two things to look at in fixing the economy, namely the short-term issue and the long-term of creating economic policies.
There's a short-term issue of correcting the fiscal deficit, but there's a longer-term issue of coordinating economic policy beyond correcting the fiscal deficit. And both of them are going at the same time, and they have to work together. We have been having discussions with the ministries already to come up with cost savings, expenditure reprogramming. We've done this before, Renee. We've done this before, And when we were meeting with the caucus of CEOs last week, in fact, one of the things that I said to them was, some of them around the table were involved in doing it when we had to do it. Mr. Waite, for example, who is the AFS, was part of the team that corrected the fiscal and debt issues that we had in the 2005-2007 period. And if you look at the IMF reports that go back to that time, you will see that it was even worse in that time. And this is not to say that this is not a difficult situation that we're in. It is to say that this will not be the very first time that we have been faced with needing to sort out our fiscal issues, and that we have done so successfully. So we are setting out to do that. In the 2004-5 fiscal year through to like 2006-7, we reduced our fiscal deficit in really dramatic fashion. But we had no choice but to do it in dramatic fashion at that time. The adjustments that we have to make in this period are not going to be as large as we had to do, but we have to be sure that when we do it, we maintain whatever adjustments we put in place to achieve the targets that we want to achieve over the next 2-3 fiscal years.
According to the report, the government of Belize has also acknowledged that the 2013 wage agreement resulted in a sharp increase in the public wage bill and agreed that it should be contained going forward. They noted that a wage freeze will not fundamentally change the fiscal problem, but will nonetheless be considered. The government of Belize is rejoicing over today's Supreme Court ruling that has declared illegal the secret contract made by the People's United Party and which gave control of the Imarbe and IBC registers to the Ashcroft Alliance for 25 years. The government of Belize sees the court's decision rejecting the Ashcroft Alliance's claim for $90 million for GOB's take-back of the registers as vindication of the government's position and a triumph for the rule of law and the Constitution of the country. A release from the government says, and we quote, "As this current administration has always maintained, it is politically, morally, and legally repugnant for the PUP to have handed over control of Belizean assets and revenue to the Ashcroft enterprise. It amounted to a scandalous diversion of monies that could only properly have gone into the Consolidated Revenue Fund, and is yet another instance of the corruption that accompanied all the PUP secret deals. The government contrasts this with the upholding of sovereignty, Belizean ownership, and our financial laws, which has characterized this administration's stance in dealing with all the Ashcroft's concerns and government's relations generally with foreign investors." End of quote. In yesterday's session of the Guatemalan Congress, Decree number 47 for 2016 was approved, which seeks to take their territorial, insular, and maritime claim over Belize to the International Court of Justice, with the condition that the country's internal mechanisms are followed before submitting the claim, which translates to the referendum. Guatemala's approval to the protocol to the special agreement that was signed onto with Belize came with requirements from the Congress, including that the Guatemalan citizenry be kept abreast of the developments between both countries whilst being educated on the differences that both countries have regarding Guatemala's claim, and that much emphasis be placed on bringing an end to the dispute. The Guatemalan Congress also ratified the amendment that was made to the special agreement in 2015 in Plasencia, where it was stated that the referendum in both countries can either be done simultaneously or independent of each other, and that each country must notify the Secretary of the ICJ on its outcome. In his address, the president of the Guatemala Congress, Mario Taracena Diaz-Sol, noted that due to the financial burden the referendum will place on Guatemala, they are reaching out to the United States and the United Kingdom for assistance. As we mentioned yesterday, both Belize and Guatemala have reached out for financial aid in the name of the Belize-Guatemala issue. Belize had requested $4.4 million for its education campaign, whilst Guatemala had requested aid back in 2012 from 12 countries to a tune of $46 million to hold the referendum, which never took place. In past interviews with the Foreign Minister Wilfred Elrington and Prime Minister Dean Barrow, the ratification from the Guatemalan Congress was what they were waiting for in order to move ahead with Belize's plans for a referendum on whether to take the dispute to the International Court of Justice. A ceremony to mark the inauguration of Toledo District's Nemo Emergency Operations Center and Disaster Relief Warehouse was held this morning in southern Belize. Here's that story by Paul Mahon.
After the welcome address by NEMO Toledo District Coordinator Kenton Parham and other remarks by Chairperson of Toledo District Emergency Committee Punta Gorda Mayor Fon Gutierrez and NEMO National Emergency Coordinator Lieutenant Colonel retired Sheldon Defoe, main speaker was Minister of Transport and NEMO Edmund Castro.
I thank the U.S. Ambassador for working along with us. And I also give special thanks on behalf of the government of Belize to the country of the United States of America, that we are grateful and we are thankful for the investment that they are putting in our country, especially with this facility here in the Toledo district. This will serve as a very good warehouse staging ground for the Toledo district. We never had such a facility in this area before. So in the event of a hurricane, we will be much better equipped to handle the relief supplies to our people, both in PG Town and the rural communities here in the Toledo district.
Another main speaker was U.S. Ambassador His Excellency Carlos Moreno.
This comes at an opportune time for Belize. Hurricanes are always on the horizon. Fortunately, the most recent hurricane, Hurricane Earl, did not do any damage down here in Toledo, but one never knows. It's always better to be prepared. This particular structure has a number of components: conference rooms, meeting rooms, press room, kitchen, and so forth. That's the main structure. Next to it is a very large NEMO warehouse that will house supplies that are necessary to respond to a hurricane, including cleaning supplies, mattresses, cots, blankets, water, and so forth. So this is the largest emergency operations center, to my knowledge, here in Belize. Total cost was about $1.6 million US dollars, and it's part of the continuing commitment that our government has in helping to secure the security of Belize, both in times of disaster, but also in times when things are just the need to preserve citizen security overall. So this total assistance to Belize for this type of program is about $10.6 million since 2005. But I think this is really the best and the most complete structure that we've had the opportunity to assist Belize with.
After the closing remarks by Nemo Toledo Assistant District Coordinator Dennis Williams, cutting of the ribbon to mark the official inauguration of the facilities were done jointly by Minister Edmond Castro and U.S. Ambassador Carlos Moreno. The newly constructed Toledo Nemo Emergency Operations Center and Warehouse are located in the vicinity of Machaca Forest Station, 11 miles out Punta Gorda on the Southern Highway. This report is sponsored by Golden Stream Spice Farm, which produces and offers high quality and locally produced spices, including genuine Malabar black pepper. Contact phone number 670-1338. Reporting for Love News, Paul Mahone, Punta Gorda.
There has been a slight increase in the number of HIV infections in Belize. This follows what was a steady decrease in recent years. This was addressed at a public forum held by the National AIDS Commission. Chairperson Laura Longsworth spoke with Love News about reaching out to the public.
The big goal today is to ensure that we begin to disseminate information about the work of the National AIDS Commission, and also put in perspective the situation of HIV, AIDS, and TB in the country. Everything that we have been doing so far and everything that the ministry is doing is to ensure that people know their HIV status. Recently, a small alarm went out because after UNAIDS provided a report, a prevention gap report, stating that we're slipping, the Caribbean is slipping in terms of gains made. And ironically, we have seen the same thing in our statistics in Belize, where we have more HIV, persons being diagnosed with HIV than the previous years. And so we want to begin to address those things.
What are the causes that your research has shown that has been motivating that rise?
One of the big things is fear, stigma and discrimination, and the fact that if you go to a center and request an HIV test, or if you go to a center and the facility and somebody thinks that you're gay or lesbian or you're a homosexual, you are not given the same opportunity to access these services. And so the environment has to be created to make sure that we do not discriminate.
Longsworth spoke of the most vulnerable groups in our society and what keeps them from accessing healthcare services.
The vulnerable groups are young people, and of course women and men having sex with men, homosexuals, very important. Remember, we do not know who we are. We, in our families, in our relationships, we have bisexual men who have families and so on. So if we make sure that those services and those opportunities for counseling and care and access to information and so on is taken care of, then our families and our communities are going to be healthier.
Forming part of the panel was the Director of Health Services, Dr. Marvin Manzanero. He spoke about the proactive approaches that they are doing to reach out to those vulnerable groups.
There's also other aspects of HIV that I think we are trying to address in terms of barriers, legal aspects, human rights, social aspects, cultural, educational, religious, all of those are trying to be addressed. And I think after the ruling of Section 53, there were, I think, some miscommunication and misinformation as to what that really meant and what it meant for the national HIV response. So I think we're just trying to dissipate those misconceptions around that topic. Since 2012, when we started realizing that we don't have a generalized epidemic, it's a concentrated epidemic, one of the things we started to do is go in search of men proactively. Men in general, we didn't ask for any specifics in terms of their sexual behavior. One of the other aspects we are now looking at is trying to see if we could expand the testing services. I know the VCT site in Belize City is looking at the possibility of doing testing beyond the 8 to 5 hour, possibly going up to 9 o'clock. There has been outreach where the HIV program has gone out to do testing where there's parties that are exclusively for men, gay parties. I think we have taken a more proactive approach to that. We're trying to see if we can place everybody on treatment as well, as long as you're HIV positive, placed on treatment regardless of CD4. Providing condoms at all different levels, female condoms, male condoms. I think it's trying to take it from a more proactive stance, understanding where the epidemic is and knowing where we have to go.
The Caribbean Development Research Services, CARIMES, conducted an online study on key issues in regards to how people view HIV and AIDS in Belize. Cedric Martin, UNAIDS Communications Officer, presented those findings.
100 respondents, fairly even split between men and women in 60 locations all over Belize. The idea was really to get an idea from Belizeans about what do you think about issues relating to sexual reproductive health, related to HIV stigma and discrimination. So one of the first questions that we asked was about HIV testing. What would discourage you from going somewhere to get an HIV test? We gave 6 options and people were able to choose more than one. And the main concerns about if news of their positive HIV result gets out. So that's more than half of the sample saying that they are concerned that, okay, if I am positive, everybody's going to know my business. Another critical issue, 47% of people expressing concerns about the availability of treatment. And as Mrs. Longsworth said, the treatment is there. We also asked about whether you think people living with HIV need some special protection from the state. And again, I think this 79% of people who responded yes really reflects the awareness of Belizeans about the challenges of daily life when people are living with HIV. So we have a high level of awareness that HIV stigma and discrimination in Belize remain challenges, and it creates an opportunity for us to dialogue with people and to begin to address these attitudes.
The study also found out that 94% of the respondents believe that domestic violence is still an issue in the country, with 1 of 4 participants responding that it is justified to beat a woman if 1, she is unfaithful, or if she neglects her children. Overall, the study showed a positive attitude towards the LGBT community, with 2 of every 3 participants saying that they either tolerate or accept homosexuals. 96% of Belizeans believe child abuse is still an issue in the country, with more than half of the respondents saying that they personally know of at least 1 case of child sexual abuse within the past year. Police operations led to the discovery of a quantity of suspected cannabis in southern Belize. We joined Paul Mahong for that story.
The police operation was carried out during the week as explained by Sergeant Jason Rivero.
On Wednesday, the 26th of October, between the hours of 5 a.m. and 1 p.m., an abandoned lot was searched where 4 parcels of black plastic bag hidden close to a culvert in some grasses was found. It was then retrieved, opened, where its content revealed to be green leafy buffy vegetable substance, which is content to be that of cannabis. No one was found in the immediate area, and suspected cannabis was taken to the Punta Gorda police station, where it was labeled and deposited as found drugs.
Sergeant Jason Rivero. Police confirmed that the drug-related operation in San Pedro Colombia Village, Toledo, executed by Police Special Branch and Quick Response Team, resulted with the discovery of 1,699 grams of suspected cannabis. Reporting for Love News, Paul Mahone, Punta Gorda.
Throughout the year, Kidney Association of Belize held a mini health fair in an effort to collect data and offer free health services. The fair was held today at the parking lot of BCVI in Belize City, where the administrator for the Kidney Association of Belize, Kirkland Fiesta, spoke to Love News.
And we've been conducting health fairs all year round. We do a lot of educational awareness, and Belifa invited us to be a partner with them to do this health fair. We readily agreed because we want to get the word out there that knowing your health status is very important. There has been a lot of kidney disease patients coming out on the rise, and so we believe that getting to know your health status would help to decrease that, because if you know that you are at risk, then you know you can do something about it rather than having it being told to you immediately and then So we believe that it is very important, and we're glad to come out here and do this health fair. There are two main reasons that kidney disease comes from. One of them is diabetes and the other is hypertension. Those are the two main risk factors. And because of the rise in diabetes and the rise in hypertension, we see a rise in kidney patients as well. Patients coming with kidney failure and different kidney problems. And we're always here to assist patients and the populace as best as we could. And so we believe that being out here doing this health fair, as you can see, the outcome is very good. We've been having a wonderful turnout today, and we hope to do so again in the future.
How is the data collected here used?
We are in the process of compiling our data. What we do, all the samples that are being done here, they go over to the lab, they're tested. We get in touch with each and every single patient, let them know their status, and we get a copy of the results to them as well. We keep a copy on our record, and we are creating our own database of the records.
The Kidney Association of Belize partnered with the Belize Association for Insurance and Financial Advisors. We spoke with President Sean Smith.
It's a part of our community service in Life Insurance Awareness Week to give back to the community. And we are focusing mainly on health, preventative care. So we're having several different institutions joining with us to do different tests. And all of them are free of cost. We found it very important because as insurance advisors, one of our main things when we go out is speaking to people about taking care of themselves and being qualified to get a health insurance, get any kind of insurance. So coming out and getting yourself checked is a first step in knowing your health status, and that allows you to open up to so much more things as in terms of your health and how to take care of yourself.
Manuel Orion Bardalis became the first member of the Belize Youth Cadet Corps from the Intermediate Southern Formation to be selected as Cadet of the Month. Officer in charge of the ISF, Acting Superintendent of Police Raymundo Reyes, says Bardalis, who joined the Belize Police Youth Cadet Corps on September 11, 2015, was selected for the qualities that he portrays when in training, such as his attitude towards his cadet instructors and colleagues. Reyes also applauds the efforts of his officers attached to the community policing unit, as well as Bardalis' parents. This is the news on Love Television. After the break, we'll tell you what the weekend weather is looking like.
Let the Garifuna drums roll. It's the 11th annual Battle of the Drums competition and show on Saturday, November 12, 2016 at the Toledo Community College compound in Punta Gorda town. Show starts at 7:30 p.m. and doors open at 6:30 p.m. Come see dynamic groups from Belize City, Dangriga, Hopkins, St. Vite, Punta Gorda, San Pedro Sula, Honduras, and Livingston, Guatemala. Don't miss this energetic and memorable event as we celebrate 11 years and counting. Who will claim the 2016 championship? Get your tickets. VIP seats $25, general admission $20, and advanced ticket $15. Tickets can be purchased at Raju's Variety Store, BISS and Bea Suites, or you can call 722-2956 for ticket information. And don't miss the first ever Garifuna Musical Festival immediately after the Battle of the Drums, featuring explosive entertainment by the Waguera drummers, Mohoba Flores, and they show the Maya Parandero, Adrian the Doc Martinez, LaSalle and the PG Vibes, Chico Ramos and the Sweet Pain Band, the La Rubea Band, as well as award-winning Seawells and the X-Band. It's all happening at the TCC compound in Punta Gorda town. Tickets only $20 each. The 11th annual Battle of the Drums and the first ever Garifuna Musical Festival. Brought to you by James Bossline, Atlantic International Bank, the award-winning Hotel Bea Suites, Niche, Atlantic Insurance Company Limited, Pelican, Raju's Variety Store, BTB, Love FM, PGTV, and Travelers Liquors Limited.
For $2 a day, you can get your gym on. You heard that right. $2 a day at Health and Fitness Body 2000 gets you access to our prime facility. Join today with this low membership cost. Just $60 a month. You can take advantage of weights, biking, personalized fitness, specialized classes in aerobics on Mondays and Wednesdays, Zumba on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Health and Fitness Body 2000, 1442 Coney Drive, open from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. Telephone 223-2502. Email body2000hnf@gmail.com.
Our thought conditioner for today comes from the late, great Michael Jackson. It reads, and we quote, "In a world filled with hate, we must still dare to hope. In a world filled with anger, we must still dare to comfort. In a world filled with despair, we must still dare to dream. And in a world filled with distrust, we must still dare to believe." End of quote. This has been the evening news on Love Television. We invite you to log on to our website at www.lovefm.com for transcripts of our news stories. Thank you for watching. Do have yourselves a safe and enjoyable weekend. With your news, I am Renee Trujillo.